The most dangerous things on Earth aren't the ones that roar smoke or shake the ground. The most dangerous things are the ones that stay silent. They wait until we stop watching. They wait until we build our cities, route our airplanes, and convince ourselves that they are dead. For 70,000 years, a mountain in southeastern Iran called Taftan did exactly that. It played dead. It was classified as extinct. In geological terms, that is a death certificate. It means the fire is out, the chamber is cold, and humanity is safe. But we were wrong. New data from orbital satellites has revealed something terrifying. The summit of this extinct giant is rising. It isn't just sitting there anymore. The ground is physically deforming, warping, and lifting upwards. It is the geological equivalent of a corpse sitting up in a morgue. And it's not just that it's moving, it's how it's moving. There were no massive earthquakes to shake it awake. There were no catastrophic storms to shift the water table. This movement is coming from the inside. Something deep beneath the rock is pushing, stretching, and preparing to breach the surface. The question scientists are scrambling to answer right now isn't just, is it waking up? It is, how much time do we have left? To understand why this is happening, you have to stop thinking of a volcano like a mountain and start thinking of it like a biological system. A volcano breathes. It has a circulatory system. And right now, Taftan is inhaling. The satellite data shows an uplift of about 3.5 inches over a 10-month period. That might sound small to you. 3 inches is the length of a finger. But when you are talking about a mountain that weighs billions of tons, lifting it 3 inches requires a staggering amount of energy. This is the soda can effect. Imagine a sealed can of soda placed on a hot stove. On the outside, the can looks perfectly still. It isn't shaking. It isn't making a sound. But inside, the liquid is boiling, the gas is expanding, and the aluminum is reaching its breaking point. The pressure inside Taftan is building silently. It is hunting for a weakness. In the rock, a crack, a fissure, a soft spot. And the most alarming part? The source of this pressure is shallow. We are talking about activity just 1,600 to 2,700 feet below the surface. For a volcano, that isn't underground. That is right at the front door. When pressure sits that close to daylight, the rules of volcanic eruptions change. We are programmed by Hollywood movies to look for warning signs. Rivers of lava, dark smoke, the ground rumbling for days. But Taftan is threatening something much more insidious. A phreatic explosion. This happens when groundwater suddenly comes into contact with superheated magma or gas. It flashes into steam instantly. Water expands 1,600 times in volume when it turns to steam. When that happens underground, the rock can't contain it. There is no warning. There is no lava flow to run away from. 1 minute, the mountain is quiet. The next minute, the summit simply disintegrates. It is a steam-driven blast with the force of a jet engine, launching boulders the size of cars and shooting superheated ash miles into the sky. It is a sniper shot from the Earth. And because Taftan was labeled extinct for so long, the region isn't prepared. There are no advanced evacuation protocols. There is no heavy monitoring infrastructure on the ground. We are watching this unfold from space, hoping we aren't witnessing the start of a catastrophe. Now you might be thinking, I don't live in Iran, so why should I care? That is the mistake everyone makes with volcanoes. We assume the danger zone is drawn on a map around the mountain. But volcanoes don't respect borders. When a volcano like Taftan wakes up, it breathes out sulfur dioxide. This gas is heavy, toxic, and travels on the jet stream. It reacts with the atmosphere to create sulfate aerosols, tiny particles that act like a mirror in the sky, reflecting sunlight back into space. A large enough release doesn't just smell bad. It cools the planet. It changes weather patterns. It destroys crop yields thousands of miles away. And then there is the ash. Do you remember 2010? A volcano in Iceland with a name nobody could pronounce erupted. It wasn't even a particularly large eruption, but it grounded air traffic across the entire Atlantic for weeks. It cost the global economy billions of dollars. Taftan sits beneath major flight corridors connecting the Middle East to South Asia. If that shallow pressure releases a plume of ash, it's not just a local problem. It's game over for regional aviation. Flights grounded, supply chains severed. The atmosphere becomes a no-fly zone filled with microscopic glass shards because that is what volcanic ash is. It shreds jet engines from the inside out. But if Taftan is a loaded pistol, we need to talk about the nuclear weapons. Because Taftan isn't the only giant waking up from a nap. Across the planet, there are systems known as supervolcanoes. These aren't mountains. They are massive cauldrons of depression in the earth, so big you can't even see them unless you are in space. And one of the most dangerous ones is right next to a major city in Italy, Campi, Flegrei. If you live in Naples, you walk on top of it every day. It last erupted in 1538, and for centuries, it slept. But recently, the ground there has been doing exactly what Taftan is doing. Rising, streets are cracking, harbors are becoming too shallow for boats because the seabed is being pushed up. Scientists have been terrified that this uplift signaled magma rushing to the surface. They saw carbon dioxide levels spiking, tons of it, every single day. In the volcano playbook, rising CO2 plus rising ground usually equals an eruption. If Campi Flegrei goes, we aren't talking about grounded flights. We are talking about a global winter. We are talking about the collapse of civilization as we know it. But this is where the story takes a strange turn. In the last 2 years, new studies have completely rewritten what we think is happening beneath our feet. And they might just have saved us from panic, at least for now. Researchers analyzed that massive spike in gas at Campi Flegrei. They checked the chemical fingerprints of the CO2 against other gases like nitrogen and helium, and the math didn't add up. The gas wasn't coming from a fresh invasion of magma. It was coming from rocks being cooked by hot fluids. Essentially, the volcano isn't reloading its weapon, it's just letting off steam. Another study in 2025 confirmed that the shaking ground wasn't caused by magma forcing its way up, but by a sealed reservoir of steam cracking its lid. That's why the ground sinks back down after the earthquakes, like a balloon deflating. This is the paradox of modern geology. The more we look, the more terrifying signals we see. But the more we study, the more we realize that Earth is noisy. It groans, it stretches, and it releases gas. Not every groan is a death rattle. However, not every groan doesn't mean no groan. The reality is that we are living in a calm period of geological history. We have grown arrogant. We think the Earth is a static stage built for us to live on. But the Earth is dynamic, violent, and indifferent to our schedules. 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano in Indonesia erupted. It didn't just disrupt air travel, it nearly wiped out the human species. It reduced our population to a few thousand breeding pairs. We are all descendants of the survivors of that ash. Taftan rising in Iran is a warning. Campi Flegrei shaking in Italy is a warning. They are reminders that the ground beneath us is alive. We can use satellites to watch them. We can use chemistry to understand them. But we cannot stop them. The extinct label is just a word we use to make ourselves feel safe. But as Taftan is proving, right now, nature doesn't care about our labels. It only cares about pressure. And eventually, all pressure has to be released. So the next time you look at a mountain that seems peaceful, quiet, and dead, ask yourself, is it really sleeping, or is it just holding its breath? If you want to keep exploring the hidden dangers of our planet, make sure you're subscribed because we are digging deeper every week. Thanks for watching.